Okay, as we head to the finish line here, I want to just do a couple-minute recap of yesterday in terms of and what we were doing yesterday and today. But yesterday was really a day of celebrating innovators. Every speaker we had throughout the schedule yesterday was someone in North Dakota doing amazing things. And as we said, if you attended this conference, we'll be following up with information for you as those presentations get edited and put online. If you were there yesterday and loved them, make sure that you indicate that you loved what you see in the video, send it to your friends, invite people, hold the team with your meeting, use those videos, because there was a number of short talks yesterday that could be really powerful, including the ones that we mentioned earlier today about building relationships as a key point of the behavioral health thing. But that was yesterday, and if any of the presenters are still here, I know that some of them are, but anybody had anything to do with day one, let's give a round of applause to everybody that was made yesterday so fantastic. One of the other conclusions which I want to make sure that we're driving from all of this is that there is, just like when we talk about the federal government dealing with the states, there's not a one-size-fits-all for every state. Every state's different. And certainly in North Dakota, we are a large geography, 71,000 square miles, 189 or maybe, I think roughly 189, maybe it's 179, but school districts, a lot of diversity in terms of size, location, income, makeup, across those things. There's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. There may be common principles, there may be underlying things, there's benefits from sharing, but it's going to take a diversity of approaches. And this is why we have been, along with the support of the legislature, really trying to drive, when we talk about innovation in education, we are trying to create opportunities for each district to get either just do it or get the waivers to do it, to be able to innovate in different approaches at your location. And there are so many exciting things that are happening as we move towards team-based, real-world, hands-on learning that stresses the 4 C's, but also does it in a way that we can deliver personalized learning. I mean, the impact of that is so powerful. And so we have an opportunity to do simultaneously change the way we're doing our education, and at the same time have that actually nest nicely and fit nicely with what we're trying to do in terms of the understanding of behavioral health and how that matches in with the school. But we're going to see diversity approaches. We're going to celebrate that diversity. And when we hold this conference again next year, I would invite anybody who's here, if you're like, hey, we're doing cool stuff and we weren't included, elevate your awareness, make sure you let us know, make sure our team knows, and I would say we'll see you on stage next year sharing your success, your leadership, your innovation with the rest of the state. Overall, of course, what we're trying to accomplish here is when we're merging these two, we talk about working as one across the state of North Dakota, taking our assets around education, our assets around behavioral health, merging those two, 21st century classrooms yesterday, behavioral health supports today, to have healthy, successful students. And we also, yesterday, we had an entire panel yesterday made up of educators that were one was Botno, one was Rugby, and one was Fargo. And those educators all had built curriculum and programming about hands-on, real-world, team-based learning approaches that tied in with building community. And when we talk about Main Street Initiative, and we talk about one of the keys to Main Street Initiative is healthy, vibrant, safe communities. You can't have a healthy, vibrant, safe community without healthy, vibrant, safe schools. And so we have some educators actually merging those two things and getting the students out of the classroom into the community, integrating. When they do that, all of a sudden you've got private-public partnership opportunities for funding. You've got real-world learning opportunities, just some amazing things that are happening. And when that panel comes out, that would be a fun one to watch, because some of that stuff is low cost, highly effective, and if you've got an enterprising teacher, they could map that curriculum and build that in any city in our state could be delivering those kinds of things, and then that ties all of this together into healthy, successful students supporting healthy, successful communities. This morning, one of my big takeaways from Dr. Eldman when he talked about when he's talking about our approaches, and he was really talking about that we've got a skill deficit, not a will deficit. And if we understand and can develop the language and the approaches to understand that people who have behavioral health challenges, if we've got challenging behaviors from kids, that they're missing the skills, they're not missing the will. And if we make that shift, Then we're going to move away from a punishment and reward model where we think we're providing more motivation, and we're going to move towards understanding what are the skills it'll take. And this is exactly parallel to what we're trying to do in the battle of shame and stigma associated with the disease of addiction. Because we said on the panel this morning, I guess we didn't say it because I was talking to him on the side, but with Pam Sagnis and the First Lady, North Dakota conducted one of the first ever statewide surveys about stigma. And the questions were asked, and it turned out about 60% of North Dakotans thankfully believe today that the disease of addiction is a disease. But that means that close to 40%, or 4 out of 10 people, think that it's a moral choice, and if they believe it's a moral choice, if people are using because it's a moral choice or a moral failing, if it's a moral failing, then the way you fix a moral failing is with more punishment. Minimum mandatories, longer sentencing, lock them up, throw away the key. I mean, that's for multiple long-term offenders. That would be because it would be the thing. If you believe that it's just a choice, then you think you can change the motivation of the choice with more punishment. We'll make it even more difficult on them if they choose. But if you believe that they've got a brain disease where their brain has been hijacked and there's nothing more important that your brain is telling you. I mean, your brain might be telling you time to eat. Their brain is telling them, do whatever it takes to make sure that I have my next use of the drug. The brain has been hijacked. If you believe that, then we have to treat the health problem. And as we had, a great speaker, William Moyer, was in town a couple weeks ago for TEDx Fargo, and he talked about his collapse and his failing as someone who had income, had prestige. His father had started the Peace Corps, worked for Lyndon Johnson. They had money, they had values, they had church, they had everything. And he had 3 kids and a great wife. And his dad never gave up on him. His dad pulled him out of a crack house when he was 36 years old after he had relapsed a dozen times. And he said, my family hated what the disease did to me, but they never stopped loving me. So you can love the individual and hate the disease. Let's all hate the disease and treat that. And we would never think of someone who has diabetes. We would never think of saying to someone who has diabetes, we're going to give you 28 days of insulin, and then after that, you're on your own, no more insulin. And if you can't make it, if you relapse, we're throwing you in jail. And by the way, we're not going to give any insulin when you're in jail. That's really what we're doing to a health problem when we think about that. People had their chance, they relapsed. Disease of addiction is a powerful disease, and we have to have powerful approaches to respond to it. But it is completely parallel to what we're talking about today, which is, again, we got to focus on building the skills and the capabilities. We got to focus on addressing those underlying issues and not moving towards a punishment model. Because, by the way, when you take a look at it from addiction, the least effective, most expensive way to treat addiction is with punishment. That's the $41,000 a year, and it doesn't work. And by the way, in North Dakota, if somebody comes out of the correction system in North Dakota, 99.5% of the people that go into the correction system in North Dakota come back out again. Thank goodness we have a leader, Leanne Birch, who's got a mission, which is that we're going to be building better neighbors and better citizens, not better prisoners. Because sometimes better prisoners don't make better citizens. And if the definition of a better student is someone who never acts out, we need to rethink that as well, because we have to think about the whole student. So skill, not will, key thing, ties into everything we're doing across a number of fronts. In terms of thank yous, there's so many people to thank, but certainly for today, let's give it up for Chris Jones, Pam Sagnis, and everybody on the behavioral health team that helped put together this fantastic day. Way to go, team. And I thank the team yesterday from the governor's office that worked on this, but also we had great support from Superintendent Baszler and the Department of Public Instruction for this conference. So I want to say thank you to her and her team. Let's give them a shout out. Way to go. And over the last 2 days, as you saw yesterday and today, things move forward in North Dakota in terms of policy changes and funding changes because we've got forward-thinking legislators. And we have been so fortunate to have a number of legislators and a number of the key legislators that were here, including a number of committee chairmen across human services, education, and ever. But senators that either were here or there, if you can stand, if you're still here. But Senator Don Shively, Senator Judy Lee, Senator Kyle Davidson, who's still here. He wins the attendance award. He hasn't missed a minute. Senator Tim Mathern was here. Senator Aaron Oban, Senator Kathy Hogan, Senator Bob Fors right over here. But those are all the senators that are here. You guys stay standing. Representative Dave Munson was here for virtually the entire conference. He had to leave to go to a funeral. Representative Cindy Schreiber-Beck is still here, was part of our innovation task force. Representative Brandy Tile, Representative Michelle Strinden, I think, is still here. Anyway, let's give it up for all these legislators. Thank you. We had so many great sponsors for this, and I want to just run through a few of them again. But in addition to the Department of Public Instruction, we had great support. We saw their members yesterday, today, hosting and leading panels and being here. But the School Board Association, North Dakota United, NDCEL, we're all here providing great support. The Bush Foundation provided funding for this. Sanford Health was a sponsor today and also provided the funding so everyone could get the free book. Don't forget to pick up your book from Dr. Elvin. And of course, Livewire, who is offered some greatly discounted services to help put on this professional setup and video and ever. But let's give all of our sponsors, including Sanford and Livewire, a big thank you. And then in the final closing right here, this is exactly what we opened with. We talked about what is the mission of government in North Dakota? What is the mission of Team ND? What is K-12, higher ed, the correction system, every cabinet agency? What are the 6 words that they all have in common? And it boils down to this. Our role is to empower people, improve lives, and inspire success. And if you're in this room, that's the business that you're in too. And so thank you for being part of that powerful, meaningful mission that we get a chance to do. And Brent Sanford, myself, the First Lady, we're honored to get up every day and to be able to work on these kinds of things for the great state of North Dakota. And as we do that, we have to develop some cultural aspirations, because in our small state, the only way we're going to be able to tackle all this is with the same things that we ask of our kids. We talk in education about the 4 C's, about critical thinking. To me, that's get the data in the room and get the ideology out of the room. It's about communications. How do we talk to each other, not about each other? It's about creativity. How do we come up with new solutions that perhaps haven't worked together? And it's about collaboration. So the cultural aspirations that we talk about for Team ND, Team North Dakota, they include that we've got to, again, focus on citizens. We're focusing on the students, including all the students that have developmental disabilities and the students that have behavioral health, like a learning disability. They've got they're lagging in their behavioral health skills. So we have to focus on them, their families, and the taxpayers, because if we're more efficient, then we're going to have free up dollars to do even more amazing things. Growth mindset, we talked about that yesterday, but that's also key here. Leadership everywhere. Leadership can happen in the classroom, at the building level, like you saw from the Simley team. It can happen at the district level. It can happen with one courageous school board member. And then working as one. Great example, the last 2 days where we have now, this is the first time ever, behavioral health and K-12 working together with a set of common goals and a set of common mapping. And of course, in the end of the day, all of the work can't be about bureaucracy. It can't be about rules. It's not government for government's sake. We got to get rid of all the mind-numbing, wasteful stuff that goes on, and so that we can free up anybody who's working as part of TMD, part of Team ND. If you're working for Team ND, every day you go to work, you should go, I have an inspiring job that's making a difference in people's lives. If you're making a difference, we're going to attract great people to come and work with us. And so it all ties back together. So those are the cultural aspirations. I say aspiration because we're not there yet. These are things we're aspiring to. We have to keep getting better. Some agencies and organizations are further than others, but we're headed in the right direction. And of course, the values that we bring, courage, you saw that, you've seen that for all 2 days, right up through our last speaker. Curiosity, You're all displaying curiosity by being here. Certainly, I hope all of you are curious enough with Dr. Elvin that you're saying, I'm going to read his book, I'm going to go online, I'm going to learn more about Think Kids, I'm going to figure out how do we have a certification program in our state like Oregon and Texas are building. You can get certified in that creative problem-solving stuff that he was talking about. What if we had more people certified in North Dakota than any other state? What kind of impact would that have? What kind of long-term savings would that mean? Would we see our corrections budget just start falling in 10 years? When the 14-year-olds are now 24, because they were going on a different track, they're going on that path that he showed where you go one way, not the other way. I'm curious about that, and I would like to figure, I would think that every dollar we spend on that is a dollar that's going to have a very high return. Let's figure out a way to free up the dollars to make those investments. It's not more spending, it's better investments. It's investments with high return on investment. Let's make those. And again, the humility, you heard it from Dr. Elvin. We got a PhD author up here talking about that you can become better at empathy, that humility is key, reinforcing exactly what we've been talking about, and of course the gratitude which we need to have for the opportunity we have to be in a state where everybody can get in the room and we can work together. So I'm grateful for all of you being here, grateful for all you do, grateful for everybody that helped put together this conference. And in closing, one of my favorite quotes is, far and away the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. And certainly all of us in this room have been working hard. I know all of you, if you're an educator, you work hard. If you're in anything to do with behavioral health, you're working hard. So we know people are working hard. I want to remind you that the work you're doing is work worth doing. And that work worth doing, that we can do it better, smarter, and more effectively than ever because we ourselves are improving our own skills and knowledge about how to solve it. So with that, I want to say one big last thank you to all of you for being here. It's been a fantastic conference. Doesn't work without you. Let's go Team ND. Thank you.